It was raining, it was a Friday afternoon, and I had my dry bone on, my gumboots were full of water. We were working through it. And then the manager drove up close to us, but not too close. And he wound down the window probably a couple of inches, and he was talking to us, and we were like, oh, this cup, we can't hear you, mate. Turned the tractor off and went over to him, and he said, you can piss off home now, you dickhead, it's too cold and wet. And that was a moment in my life I went, well, I want to be that guy.
On a mission to express the best the Adelaide Hills has to offer, Simon Tolley was in the army before trying his hand at viticulture and starting his own brand, Simon Tolley Wines. Taking inspiration from his father Andrew, Simon's modus operandi is producing small batches of high quality wines and constantly striving to improve year on year. Simon's also raised a family in the hills where he's lived for decades and can often be spotted cruising the curves in his restored 1965 Morris minivan. Here's Simon Tolley.
Welcome to Healthy Minds, Healthy Vines, the wellbeing podcast for growers, proudly brought to you by the Wine Grape Council of South Australia and sponsored by PIRSA. Hosted by award-winning mental health podcaster Callum McPherson and wine columnist for The Australian, Nick Ryan.
Simon, your old man had a big influence on you getting into winemaking. You just start off by telling us about your relationship with him.
Well, started off really as a young boy, growing up in the Clare Valley. He was a winemaker at the Clare Vale Co-op. And from a youngster, I've been around wineries with him, right through to Taylor's. He's there for a long time as well. And so big influence, been part of my life for a long time.
And what have you learned from him over the years?
From Dad, it was all about focusing on the quality of grapes. He's always told me that you can't make good wine out of bad grapes. And, he was a strong influence to push me into viticulture when I was umming and ahhing about my future and where to go. But it came down to, at the end, a lot of my experience growing up as a young lad in Clare was working in vineyards, and that's where I felt most comfortable. And with Dad always saying that the best wine's made with best fruit. So, that's where it started.
And you're fifth generation. What does legacy mean to you?
It's huge. It's what I'm building my brand about. It's a homage to my 6 generations of Tolleys in Adelaide, starting off with Albion Tolley, who arrived in Adelaide in 1853. He was an amazing man and dedicated his life to set his family up in Adelaide. So wherever I can with my wine brand, I'm telling everyone the legacy he has set and the way he went to do it. He sacrificed a lot of his life to setting his family up in Adelaide. It's an amazing story. He started off in the goldfields in Victoria with his brother, and then left his brother there because his brother couldn't handle another boat ride. He was so seasick. So really? He left him there and went to Adelaide. His family were coach builders and saddle makers in the UK. And one of his first job was a coachman in Adelaide. He's an amazing man. We could talk about him forever, but there's probably other things to talk about.
But how did he then get into booze?
Yeah, so he basically came to Australia with fig trees, and he planted them up at Mount Barker. The Adelaide University heard about this Albion Tolley guy, and they summoned him to a meeting, and at the end of that, he decided, or they asked him to write a book on dried fruits and the success of fig tree growing in South Australia. And that was there where he met a lot of influential people in the wine game that were starting up businesses. So that's where it started for him.
Yeah. Okay.
How's his story encapsulated in your offering now?
I guess there's a picture of him, a family tree at the cellar door, and pitch right through from Albion, Douglas, Len, David, Andrew being my father, to me. That's so. It is a focus at cellar door. Is our family history to the wine game in South Australia.
But you didn't go straight into it after school wasn't
No.
always the plan necessarily.
That's right.
How did things go after school?
After school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a young kid that couldn't sit down for very long, and Dad actually, talking about influencing me, he cut out an article. Dad's a newspaper reader. He's always cutting out articles. I've got hundreds of articles in a shoebox, but he cut out an article and put it in front of my nose and said, why don't you join this? And I read it, and it was the Ready Reserves. It was a program that the government set out to try and encourage young kids from school and other areas into the army. It's a 1 year full-time, 4 years part-time. And the hook that got me was the study scholarship for 4 years after the full year, one full-time year.
Paid for.
To the challenge, took the challenge to Dad, and before I knew it, I think it was about 5 days after my 18th birthday, with the long blonde locks in on at the train station. There's about 50 of us sort of lining up, getting into a bus, and you're looking around as an 18-year-old, and there's on a range of different people, and you're just wondering, how
did I end up here?
And how am I ever going to mingle with these guys? They're all ways of life people. They're all young, but had come there for lots of different reasons. And the most amazing thing for me was within 24 hours of arriving to Wagga Wagga or Kapooka, you've got your head shaven off, and before you know it, everyone's the same.
Yeah.
And everyone looks the same.
Yep.
And those gold locks never came back?
No, they did for a while. I made the most of it. I was called Hollywood on the footy field for a while with the long blonde looks, but no, it didn't last very long. Basically, when I started business, it went all downhill from there, and then marriage and kids and
As it does.
all that sort of stuff.
Tell us a bit about your experience at Kapooka.
Kapooka was an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener for everyone that goes to Kapooka. You suddenly become very compliant. You suddenly become aware of how important it is to be a team member. If there's any weakness in a group of 30 people, you're as weak as the weakest link. And that was sort of basically all about, working as a team. There's no individuals really. It's all about teamwork and compliancy, and just, I think, focusing on small items like cleaning, hygiene, polishing boots, polishing brass, all for presence and look for the parade ground. It was quite bizarre, but that was just the way it was.
Did you take to that easily, or did you push back on it a bit?
Didn't push back at all. I was just like a hair in the spotlight, really. I was just like, whoa, this is what is happening.
Yeah.
And I was just pretty scared of the ranks above you, because you're the recruit, and then you've got corporals and sergeants and platoon lieutenants and stuff, and you're a minor. You have to just pull in line and do what they say.
So you got whipped into shape pretty quick then?
Pretty quick. I was pretty fit, and that helped me. But what I learned was that the fitter you are, what that does is help the weaker ones get through. So you're actually doing more most of the time the fitter you are, because you're at the back pushing people through over the obstacles and stuff like that. So
it's a good lesson to learn.
Absolutely.
Something you tried to carry on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
What did you do with the army from then on? Was it studying after that?
Yeah, I still really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a lot of options actually with the army. There was a chance to go full time, and there's a chance to go to ADFA. I put my name down for the course at Adelaide Uni for viticulture as well, thinking that was going to be what I wanted to do, but I didn't get in the first time because I didn't do a lot of sciences at school. So I just took another year off, and I worked for a fencing contractor down in southeast South Australia called Murphy and Schutz. A lot of that was hard work as well, but I had a passion for developing. That's where my passion for developing vineyards came from. I spent a lot of time on the with a tractor and a post knocker and putting vineyards in and planting vines and seeing them from a green landscape through to a vineyard. I really enjoyed that, and then I did a short course, bridging course later that year with some maths and chemistry, and then I got into the ag science degree at Adelaide Uni after that. So I haven't really looked back since then.
Tell us a bit more about fostering that love for viticulture, and was that a quick thing once you got stuck in there, or did that take some time?
I think going out into the workforce and working out what you want to do, you look on, even though you're young, you look on your past and your experience and where you feel most comfortable. There was a moment in the viticulture when I was working for Murphy and Schutz, and it was raining. It was a Friday afternoon, and I had my dryers blowing on. My gumboots were full of water. We were working through it, and then the manager drove up close to us, but not too close. And he wound down the window probably a couple of inches, and he was talking to us, and we were like, oh, this cup, we can't hear you, mate. Turned the tractor off and went over to him, and he said, you can piss off home now, you dickhead, it's too cold and wet. And that was a moment in my life. I went, well, I want to be that guy.
Yeah. Right.
In that, but I'll get out of the car next time, because I didn't like the way he didn't, he didn't.
Wasn't out there with you.
That's right. Well, yeah, he could have at least got out and got a bit wet and said, well done, boys, you're doing well, and jump back in and have a knock-off beer and go home. But yeah, it was just one of those moments in life where...
Instead of calling you an idiot for working too hard for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you felt like you wanted to be a leader someday too?
Not really. I don't think it was more about, for me, becoming, I think, getting out of the vineyard and into a profession, I think, into a field of viticulture. And I just want to learn more about it because of my growing up around wineries, and even my grandfather spent a lot of time with him driving around vineyards as a youngster. So I wanted to sort of piece it all together and with my experience, develop my knowledge even further.
How did Tolley Viticulture get started?
Viticulture started for me in the Adelaide Hills with Nepenthe. Worked there for about 7 years, from about 99. And in about 2003, well, prior to 2003, Dad and I wanted to do a project together and plant a small vineyard. So in 2003, we bought an old potato farm. It's a 88-acre farm, and Narelle and I, my wife, we bought the house, and Mum and Dad bought the land. It was a little bit bigger than what we wanted. We were initially looking around Lenswood area, but a lot of the blocks were just too small. We wanted more than 30 acres. Probably would be nice around that 50-acre or sort of 20-hectare number. But in that country, it's just impossible to get that size. So we went out to Inverbrachy, and we bought there, and it's a 27-hectare vineyard that I developed on weekends and holidays. So when I was working for Nepenthe, I was basically for about 5 years. We set up about 14 hectares and dedicated every minute of my life to that vineyard, as well as starting a family. So that's where it started.
It's a fair strain on you then. Like, whatever spare time you've got is actually working on top of
a full-time job. I just really loved it. I'm passionate about vineyards and developing vineyards, and for me it wasn't working. It was a project that really stimulated me. So going on from there, so for about 5 years, we got half the vineyard set up, and in 2008 I left full-time work and started Tolley Viticulture, and started off with a tractor and a mower and a herbicide unit, and we haven't really looked back since 2008. So yeah, it's been...
Is there a moment of hesitation or moment of doubt or moment of fear when you walk away from a regular wage and
it certainly
set
was.
yourself up?
I had the confidence and the backing of Mum and Dad, I guess, that if it went pear-shaped, I had something to work with at home, because we started the second half of development when I left full time. So that gave me the confidence, I guess, to take a risk. Didn't help the global finance crash that year, and then it was put a lot of doubt onto what I was doing. There's a lot of doom and gloom, and I was starting a business when there was a lot of that negativity around in the business world. But as I said, never look back.
What was your vision back then?
My vision was really to grow a business and to have a business that can resonate with my history with my family, but also build a business that can handle the dips and the cycle of business. I guess I'm trying to be diversified, I guess. So that was always my aim. So growing grapes, but also starting a business that could contract out to other vineyards, because I knew that the vineyards weren't big enough for the owners to invest in people and capital. So I was the sort of hitman for that. I knew that there was a demand for that sort of service.
And that's taken you all around SA and even over to WA as well.
Yeah, it was probably WA was when I was at uni. I worked for Tolley Wines with my Tolley viticulture business. I haven't actually gone outside of the hills, and over time I've whittled it down to probably about a 20 kilometre radius.
Don't have to go too far.
So yeah, I'm not a big fan of driving too far away, because now I've got obviously the wine brand and accommodation business and sell it all. I keep everything as close as I can to home now.
Before, when you did spend some time in other regions though, how did that sort of build into your knowledge, and have you been able to bring anything back from those experiences back to the Adelaide Hills?
When I decided, after working the Barossa for a bit and Clare for a bit and Southeast and Margaret River, it came down to where would I, if I could choose anywhere in South Australia to grow grapes, I chose the hills. But it was mainly for the cool climate, the quality. Dad always said that if you hone in on quality of fruit and wine, you'll always sell it. And Adelaide Hills had good rainfall, fertile soils. It was close to market, close to family. So it ticked all the boxes for me. But I guess working in those other regions, to answer your question, I think the hills for me, I could do things. I think I could grow better fruit. I could see I could grow better fruit in the hills than in other regions. So I wasn't as impacted with heat or water shortages or things like that can impact your quality of grapes. So I went to the hills knowing that we were going to be less impacted from the other environmental challenges.
Yeah, and then there are freak events like fires.
Correct. Didn't think about that one.
No, how can you? You can't plan for that.
No.
Tell us a little bit about that day.
I remember Ash Wednesday in '83. I was a 9-year-old in the Clare Valley. So I did have an experience, albeit I was quite young, but I do remember seeing the smoke and fire around Clare. I think we lost Dad for a couple of nights. This is back with no communication back then, no mobiles. And this is what it was like. I mean, it was a meeting every day at the CFS for volunteers, and then they'd go, and you wouldn't hear from them until they came back. It was I remember, seeing Dad come walking up the hill, because we only lived about a kilometre away from the CFS, and he was black and soot, and it was just, I'll never forget seeing that figure. But the Ash Wednesday is one thing, but Cuddlee Creek fire was another event that, right up until you have those embers on your doorstep, you don't think it's going to happen to you. It's amazing. Like, it was a hot day. It was like ridiculous. It was like 38 degrees at 9:30 in the morning. I rang my employees, there's 4 or 5 of them. I said, just stay home. We can't do anything today. It was one of those days. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then the fire started at Cuddlee Creek, and then I started getting a few phone calls from my employees saying, well, we're gonna come round just in case. And I said, yeah, you don't have to, but, you know, you're more than welcome to. So from about 10 o'clock in the morning till about midday, you know, it was pretty casual. We had the ABC live. There were a few nerves because you could see helicopters and the Orion dumping water. And so I cracked open the Forex beers, and we were still in shorts and singlets and, you know, work tops. And when the fire got to approaching Woodside, I sort of thought,
We might be on here.
we could be on. So things started to, I started to think pretty quickly. We've got 2 vineyards, and I bought a vineyard in 2016 that's where the accommodation and cellar is. So I was a bit concerned about that because it's a bit hillier up there, it's a bit steeper, a bit more wooded as well. So I raced up there and just turned the sprinklers on around the house, and turned the timer off, just let them go, and I moved the sprinkler in front of the shed. It's just a tractor shed at the time, had a few tractors and stuff in it. So then I went back home, and then within probably about 20 minutes, shit just hit the fan. Yeah, it was ember attack. You couldn't see much more than probably 20, 30 metres in front of you. We had the CFS truck come through, and they told us to get everything out from the veranda out onto the lawns to help reduce a fire from to the house. You know, at the time, my 2 boys were, I think it probably would have been 16 and 14. You know, they were kicking the football on the back line. I was like, kids, grab the cat, grab the dog, and get inside. And from that moment on, my life just changed. We had my employees, we had a couple of water carts. We had Mickey Downer and his dad with their water cart based at our house, and I was filling them up with water. We had the Weeks boys with their water cart, my water cart, so I was manning the water cart and the bore. There was a hell of a job. We actually stopped the fire. The 3 or 4 water carts we had, we stopped the fire going through our vineyard and going through our neighbour's property. It was an amazing experience. House was turned upside down because we needed to clothe people with long sleeve shirts and pants. Like everything was just like our workshop was turned upside down because people were looking for grinders and bolt cutters to get through fences, to let cattle, let sheep, let horses out of paddocks. It was just a crazy 6 hours. One of my employees left us. A farmer went past and asked for some help, and it was young Joe, and we didn't see him until the pub at the Oak Bank later that night, where I shouted everyone dinner. But he went out with a farmer, basically shooting cows and sheep that were burning. So, and then, you know, the other guy, my employees, Daniel was still with me, amazing man. He was there with me with the cart. We saved a lot of fires around the area. When we went up to, eventually we controlled home, and we went up to the cellar door, and on the way up there, we were putting out fires on people's doorsteps. I still can't work out if you're prepared to stay. And look, there's different areas. You know, there's obviously the government or the CFS, and they keep on telling everyone to get out. But I stayed because we had a vineyard in front of us and we weren't very wooded. So I was pretty comfortable to leave the family there, and it was a good base for people to. There's a good fire break in front of us. Basically, the vineyard was in front of us. But if I was in Lenswood or anywhere like that, there's no way I would have stayed there. You would have got out. But what amazed me with that experience was how many fires we saved with a 500 litre water tanker. Like, it's amazing. When everything slowly burns, it doesn't happen that quick. And when the fire front passes, everything's still burning. And if you leave it, if you don't go back, it's going to keep burning. Whatever's there in its path is going to keep burning. So if you can go back in after fire front's been through, you can go back in. That's when you can save a lot of a lot of equipment and houses, which we did. There were some challenges with power being out, and the mains water was switched off. So we had to get water from other areas, like in the submains of the vineyards and from dams. We had one neighbour on his hands and knees throwing dirt at his house. So there's no water.
Just desperate.
Yeah. So, yeah. And we put it out right in front of him, and he's like, this timing was impeccable.
Do you surprise yourself in a situation like that? You know, what you're capable of, and you're not necessarily thinking, you're just acting.
You're just doing. I look back at it, think about it occasionally, and just think, were you brave or were you mad?
Bit of both?
Probably a bit of both. I mean, I can barely remember going up that road. There was trees and branches falling on the road a lot. So much adrenaline going through your body.
Mm.
But I think it's just a bit of both. You're brave, and you got a team around you, and you're just doing it.
Yeah, and you got to make a call, and you made the right call.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
What about the aftermath and clean up of all that?
Yeah, I don't know whether I could do it again, to be honest. Yeah, you get a bit of a chink in the armour, and it never goes away. It's been a massive return to business, I guess, and financial and mentally, it's been a challenge, and I don't know whether I could do that again.
There's only so many times you can sort of pick yourself up and dust yourself off.
That's right. The fires are burning for about up to 10 days afterwards, and you keep on going. You're going back to the vineyards, and you're doing what you can to get water back on as soon as you can. And then after a big busy day, you lay in bed and you're talking to the wife, and you go, "What are we going to do?" And you just think, there's nothing you can do. You can't sell it. No one's going to buy it.
Yeah, not now.
So pretty quickly we realised, just roll the sleeves up, just get to work. And when we did that, I was very lucky with the viticulture business. That sort of kept me going as an income provider for the business. I sort of parked the vineyards that we got water onto them straight away. But my two vineyards, what people don't realise, it was a big investment to get the vineyards to December 20, right? There's pruning, which is the biggest cost, and then you spray them, you water them, wires up. We'd spend all the money, and then there's no income, right? So it's a double whammy. So you lose your income as well as your cost. But so I had some clients that didn't get burnt, so that I managed their vineyards, and pretty quickly they became the best clients to me, and I had to make sure that we could get that fruit, sold. There's a few psychological barriers that you have to get through. Like, some of the owners are saying, well, how much is my fruit worth now?
Yeah, because there's a shortage.
And it's like, well, a lot more than what it was. And so I had to sort of try and get more for them.
Yeah.
So it was good because I could park my own two vineyards and focus on getting them through harvest. And by doing that, it took my sort of
mind off
my own problem, my own issues. And in that way, we sort of let the vineyards recover on their own. So without doing anything other than getting the water back to them, we just watched them over like a 4-month, 5-month period of time.
Do you reckon you would have done too much if that was all you had to worry about?
It was really difficult watching everyone else go to work. I mean, in January, February, it was pretty warm. There were people ripping out vineyards, chainsaws, and everyone was just doing stuff because they just thought they had to do something. And it was really hard to watch all that. Deep down, I knew that they were probably wasting their time, and it was probably best to sit back and just let the vineyards recover with some natural rainfall and just see the areas that do recover and don't recover on their own.
Yep.
And that was the best thing that happened for me. I made some really good calls on my own vineyards and some clients' vineyards, watching the recovery process over time rather than getting stuck into it too quick.
How'd that experience change you?
I'm not quite sure. I think it's just another lesson in life. It's not easy. There's always a challenge. Yeah, this life and business isn't easy, and the buck stops with you. You've got to get stuff done. You've got to get money from banks. You've got to manage the vineyard. You've got to sell the fruit. You've got to make wine. I mean, just the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
and there's a lot of pressure in that as well. And for the buck to stop with you, you have to be around and you have to be functioning and at your best. What sort of things do you do to be able to take care of yourself, or who do you talk to? Who do you lean on?
I guess my family's, very important to me. My direct family, my wife and two sons, we work really well together. As I focus on them as much as part of my life as my business. But I guess being fit, or I didn't stop going to the gym. I go to a circuit training twice a week with Anthony Harvey. I've been doing it for about 8-9 years, and for me, being fit and healthy, eating the right foods and having a balanced life has been really important to me.
It helps mentally.
Absolutely.
And Simon, you had a brush with cancer as well after going to the doctor. You just tell us about what happened there?
Yeah, it's one thing after another, isn't it, life? But my uncle unfortunately passed away from prostate cancer about 4 or 5 years ago, and I watched him go through that disease for a period of time, and went to the local GP and told him about that, because my father also had his prostate removed about 3 years ago. So I was a prime candidate, had it on both sides of the family. Had a chat with the GP. He said blood test. First blood test was fine. A year or two later, the PSA level went up to 3. Then a year later went to 4, and then it was like red flag.
Yeah.
Let's go. It's go to the oncologist, have a chat, and it happened pretty quickly. The whole prostate was cancerous, so it was a pretty quick operation. So yeah, it's all done and dusted now. But to all the young men out there who have prostate in their family, talk to your GP. It wasn't a hard process at all. It just
get it done.
Yeah.
Good that you were monitoring it at least and going and getting those blood tests, because it's when no one's going to get any tests, and then it's a surprise once it's a dire situation. That's
right. If I had let it slip and not do these tests, I would have been where my uncle was. Yeah. The cancer would have spread pretty quickly to the rest of my body very quickly. So I was just, in a way, very fortunate that, my uncle, I saw what my uncle went through, and I just didn't want to do that and go through that process. So
so get on the front foot.
Get on the front foot. It was not a difficult process at all, and GPs, it's their job. If it's in either family side, just talk to the GP and get it sorted.
And how do you juggle being a dad as well? You said your lads are pretty well grown up now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's look, I tried a bit of reverse psychology and with my 2 boys. I got one still at school, who's in year 11. The other one who left school a couple of years ago.
Not putting the army pamphlet in front of them.
No, I didn't do that. I thought I'd put them off the wine industry because our TV room has vineyard views, and for most of my kids' upbringing, they would have seen the tractor going up and down the roads. I thought they might have noticed that, but no. So the oldest one's doing his first year of ag science, winemaking and viticulture this year. And I had when he left school, he was like me, he didn't know what he wanted to do. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, he said, I wouldn't mind doing a vintage. And then I was like, holy crap. I thought I'd probably be that. I just think that I thought that him seeing what I've been through might have turned him off. But obviously, it's a lot of genetics at play. We've got a few generations of great growers in the family and winemakers. So
how did you respond when he said that?
It's like, well, who the hell is going to want an 18-year-old in a cellar? That was the hardest job to try and find a young child or son. And anyway, I went to town and worked my network, and ended up going up to the Hunter Valley to Brokenwood with a mate. I got him and a mate together, and say no more.
Yeah.
It was
Brokenwood gets more. It's the one place I've always sent people to do vintage as well. There's something about that place, the school of Brokenwood that they experience through vintage there.
He
something
absolutely
else.
loves it. I wish he went there with a bit more experience, a bit more worldly experience, a bit more work experience, because I didn't really work him very hard in the vineyards at all.
That's your job.
Yeah, but he went up there. He drove up there with a mate, and then I drove back with him. I flew up to Sydney and caught the train up to the Hunter, and we had a 17-hour trip back together in the car. And I didn't know what to expect, whether he did enjoy it or not, because he was in a 3x3 cube and it was a 2023 was a long vintage.
Yeah.
And usually they start in January and they finish at end of March, But this started middle of January and he didn't get home until halfway through April. So it was a long, drawn out vintage, and I thought it might have put him off a bit. But anyway, I got the car and said, how'd it go? And he said, Dad,
this is it.
This is it. And look, and kudos to Brokenwood, whatever they do up there. Obviously, they're creating good people in the wine industry that we need, and they're keeping them enthusiastic and driving them to stay in the industry so they can keep doing it for as long as possible.
So he's right into it now?
Loves it. He's working at Deviation Road in the cellar door and in the winery with Kate. And the topic of conversation most nights is about wine and sparkling wine at this stage, but he loves it. Yeah.
And as his dad, not sure if anyone was going to take an interest ultimately, and now very much swung the other way. It's got to make you feel good.
Absolutely. I feel great, but I don't want to put any pressure on him either, So having a business, wine business, viticulture business, there's a lot of pressure financially and mentally, and you've got to be the right person to be able to want to do that. And he may not be that person, and I get it. He may have more fun traveling the world making wine, and if that's what he wants to do, that's fine by me. There's no pressure on him to come back to the family business at all.
Yeah.
I'll happily look. Hopefully, I'm setting up a legacy, but I don't want to tell them that. They've got to want to come for the right reasons.
Yeah, it's not a burden or a.
That's right.
We've heard a lot of that though. This series of parents not putting the pressure on. No one's really put the pressure on, but they do tend to.
No one's put the pressure on. But it's remarkable how many kids find their own way, sort of back.
Yeah,
and it is. And a lot of it is. They just think, maybe I'll just go do a vintage somewhere, and then that's the thing that the bug gets them.
Yeah,
and they're in.
Yeah. So as a mate, he hit a year off, and I think it's a really good call. I encourage that because I had a couple of years off from school to uni, and I think as a young child leaving school, I think it's the best thing you can do is have a break. You go to the workforce. You can get a job doing anything at the moment. There's such a shortage everywhere you go. Make the most of it. Get out to the world and just work and find your passion, and then decide to go to uni after that. I think it's otherwise you can waste a lot of time and people's time and parents' money at uni and all that sort of stuff, or HECS debts and all that sort of stuff. So I strongly encourage any child from school to get to the workforce and work it out.
And speaking of taking a break, do you ever take one?
Once a year in July. Can't go too many places because when the season starts in September, I've got frost management, frost protection of vineyards. I can't really go too far till December, so I devote my life to the bomb weather cycle in there, and then there's obviously harvest. So the grind season.
Get pruning done and then go.
Yeah, we're into pruning now. We started last month. Yeah, when we get the crew sorted out and a routine. We're going away in the next week on a caravan trip to Uluru. So for 2 weeks with the family, So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so it's important to you to go and get some space at some point during the year away from it all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just 2 weeks a year is about it for me. Hopefully one day I'll have a bit more than that.
Are you still worrying about what's happening back home in those 2 weeks, or do you
I try
find a
not
way
to.
to switch off?
Yeah, I find a way. I try not to, but I do sneak a few emails around the place. So without, just do it undercover without actually thinking that. Without
So Narelle watching you?
Yeah. I have to. I mean, I don't have. I've got. It's a pretty small business, lots of little cogs. So.
But she's a big part of that business too, and works really hard in that. I mean,
absolutely.
Can she switch off too, or
She does. I'm pretty sure she does. Yeah, she's been amazing through the journey as well. I mean, she's come from a administration background with her father's business. She worked for him for, I think it was about 15 years or 12 years. And that's been an incredible backbone.
it's a good asset?
To our business. Yeah. And now she runs the accommodation side of the business with the bookings and all the dry goods and labels and all that stuff that everyone doesn't think about with a wine brand.
Yeah.
So it's quite important.
Is that a pressure on the relationship though? Sometimes, can you find the switch between, husband and wife and, colleagues?
Yeah, it can be, but Narelle is just so calm and like her focus is the family.
Yeah.
More than business. And so that does help, a lot.
Yeah.
It's amazing how she, I probably think about more about work than what she would, but I don't want her to do what I do anyway.
Yeah.
I'd rather her focus go on the family to make sure the kids are getting the lunch in the boxes and, doing all that sort of stuff. I can't control that. You need someone like that. And she just switches off and it's great. I find it a bit harder than that. I sometimes get a bit frustrated when you talk to her about something, a business related issue, and then she's forgotten about it because she's talking about family issues. That's mainly to do with.
But it's a temporary frustration, and in the longer term, you see that's actually a good position to be in.
Absolutely, yeah.
You got time for any hobbies?
Not really.
No.
No, look, my hobby is probably seeing smiles at the cellar. I mean, I just love it. I try and get there. There's a balance in life, I know, but I really do enjoy watching people enjoy the setting at the cellar door and drinking wine and being part of our journey. That's probably that's probably my relaxing time and where I get the most out of my life, I guess. Watching customer satisfaction, lips on glasses.
Yeah.
It's a fun part. Viticulture is a bit of a grind. There's a lot of moving parts, as I mentioned before. A lot of investment in people and machinery, and really the wine side of the business is the fun side for me. It's only a small boutique wine business, but it's almost what I need as a release for what I do. Watching fruit, for a majority of my viticulture career, growing fruit for other wineries, I really missed the journey of your fruit that you grow. For a lot of time, I was growing fruit and selling it all, and then watching wineries do well with your fruit, and watching the grower get nothing out of it, apart from the money, of course. But it sort of stopped at the gate, and I really wanted to go through the next phase of my life, putting what I grow into a bottle and then paying homage to the family's heritage.
You feel that pressure, with your name on the bottle and
at the beginning,
your name and the family name?
Yeah, look, at the beginning there, it was a bit weird and I was a little bit uncomfortable. But when you work out that it's a brand and, it's a business, it's different. But I do, to offset, because I hate people thinking that I'm ego-driven by putting my name on a bottle. And that's what a lot of people think,
Yeah.
that, you're this sort of person, he's got a name on his bottle. But to be honest, I quickly put him back in line by saying, look, Woolworths own the Tolley's wine brand. And the only way to actually use my heritage, my surname, was to use my Christian name with my last name, to avoid any issues with lawyers. So
Don't want to fight someone to the use of your own name.
yeah, so that's how I sort of, I guess, change it back, and it's a good story.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel better as well by people not thinking that I'm putting my wine in the bottle for ego.
And that's
reasons.
sort of almost coming around again full circle with the name Tolley's been on a lot of bottles of brandy over the years, and that's coming back. Tell us about that project.
It is, yeah. I mean, this is another sliding door moment of the Cuddlee Creek fire and COVID and all that. It's another story, but lots of sliding door moments from the fire to COVID to the bank, man, and then opportunities just coming up out of everywhere. But the brandy, I think it was Peter Lesky may have called me, I think, because the AWRI wanted to purchase some fruit for testing and for a trial
For smoke-tainted.
for smoke-taint. So I rang back, I think it was Duncan Holds, and we had a conversation. It's like, how much fruit you got? I said, I've got, how much do you want? Because I had a couple of hundred of smoke-affected fruit. And anyway, we whittled it down to about, I think it's 10 tonne. But I really wanted to supply more. But he was doing a trial and he wanted to capture the smoke taint from the grape skins through the distillation process. And then over a 3-year period, age the brandy in oak. And we've sort of been part of that journey. And at the end of it, it's actually a really nice product. And we're bottling the next couple of months. We managed to, as part of the project, we hoped at the end, if it was favourable, we might get a bit, just to see, and then to continue the story at the cellar door. And look, I'm so excited. Our last tasting we was up against other brandies, and it stood out as a
winner,
really
yeah.
good brandy. You can smell. It's a really nice toasty, oaky smell. It's not like a cigarette smell. It's like it's a really nice smoky smell, and we'll bottle it soon, and we'll have it at the cellar door. We did talk about some ways to how to enjoy it, how to have it, but we've chosen to have it neat with ice or soda, because we don't want to confuse our offering at the cellar door. I think if we went down the line of making a cocktail out of brandy, it's just going to dilute the wine brand too much. So we've decided to have it as a package there, and on its own, that's the best way to have it, because you can say that smokiness actually comes from the vineyard. The skin on the smoke and the skins of that 2020 Cuddlee Creek fire. So it's exciting, and
Trauma terroir.
yeah, it's look, and I hope it opens up doors for other people who are smoke affected. This is what the whole trial's all about.
Yeah,
it's about trying to find another way out for a grower who's a smoke affected vineyard, and I hope this can go a long way into creating another avenue.
Were there other elements of that trial that show potential? What else could be done with smoke-tainted fruit?
Not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. Look,
Because it's going to be an ongoing.
It's going to keep
problem.
happening.
Yeah.
I learned. We all learned as growers and winemakers in the Adelaide Hills. With the Cuddlee Creek fire, we all learned a hell of a lot. There was a fantastic investment by Perza to invest in trials, smoke taint trials, and what we basically learned after, right up to harvest, because the fire happened when the berries were hard green. So as a grower, you're thinking, how the hell is smoke
getting through.
Going to get through that hard skin when there's so much more development of that berry to grow. How the hell can it be affected? So right up until harvest, you're thinking some reason
We might be all
you're
right.
positive.
Yeah.
You're positive right up to the end, and then you start getting the letters from wineries saying, all the clauses like, there's just no way they're going to take any risk, and you sort of get closer to harvest, and you go, no, this is not right. But what I did learn, that anything that goes to ferment on skins you can't do it. It's just going to taste like ash. But if, for example, Sauvignon Blanc that doesn't need oak, you can actually, there is a tolerability you can make a good wine out of. Now I made 20 tonne. I probably had about 100 tonne of Sauvignon Blanc that was smoke affected. I took a risk on a truckload of fruit, and I tried to find the cheapest avenue to get it made just in case, which I did. And everyone's telling me not to do it. The risk was very, very high. And I just thought, look, you know what am I going to lose? At least we'll know what we can or can't do. So I'd send a truck down there. Instead of getting 700 litres per tonne, we got 500 litres. So we did a really light press to try and get reduce the skin effect and the transfer of any taint through to the wine. So, we got 10,000 litres, got it into the lab, had it tested, very low amounts of smoke taints. And then I put it in front of a few wineries, undetected.
Okay.
Totally undetected. And thankfully a local winery just said, you know what, well, let's take it. They knew they could get rid of it quickly. They knew that it probably had to last within a year, had to go out of it could. The longer you leave it in the bottle, the more chance, the chance it could raise its ugly head, the smoke taint. So anyway, went to market, sold it, and we actually paid for the pruning. I was just like, but I've learned that we would have taken more risks. We easily could have taken more. We easily could have made 100 tonne, easily. But
well, it's good to know. Hopefully, there's not a next time. But
but the reality is, there probably will be at some point. It happens. It's going
to happen.
Yeah.
Whether it's doesn't matter whereabouts in Australia. It's
why the AWR is doing the work.
Yep.
And to be able to find at least some kind of silver lining is important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope that we can all learn from the experience and offer great growers and winemakers other options for smoke affected fruit. Who knows? It might be me, if this brandy project takes off, might be buying fruit from smoke affected vineyards, and I hope I can, because it will help the grower, and it can go into a product that we can sell. So who knows?
Yeah, if you've got a vineyard in a fiery area, plant columbine.
Yeah.
So just to round this out, Simon, what kind of future are you building towards?
A future, I guess just a robust business is what I'm trying to create, a diversified business that will get us through the testing times where the cycles of a wine business, I guess, and the wine industry has cycles. So I'm trying to build a robust business. It's very challenging. It takes time. That's what I'm trying to do. Hopefully one of the boys picks it up and it's a good business. And our wine business is too small. I learned a lot from the fires, that we had too much grapes at risk. And ever since the Cuddlee Creek fire, my aim is to hopefully get to a half-half. We've got half on the vine and half in bottle, so that, if we get a tragedy like that again, we can ride through that. So that's what I'm hoping to do. But at the end of it, as I said, there's no pressure. I happily walk away at the end of my working career and still say I'll be proud of what we've done. So.
And what do you think when you reflect on it all so far? You've done a lot, both sides of the fence there. Do you take time to reflect, or is it always just looking ahead?
Long way to go.
Yeah.
It's a long journey, and I'm nowhere near where we want to be as a business, to be honest. My viticulture business is at its capacity. I don't want to grow that anymore. It's a great little business. I've got great clients. Yeah, it can be a little bit stressful, but the wine business is something that just want to take it further. Want to take it. We're too small. Everything's uneconomical with it at the moment. It's just a bit clunky. We've just got to get to a size where it can be a bit more resilient.
Yeah,
I guess it's hard. There's just so much competition out there. So I'll keep trying. As I said, a long way to go.
but you feel like you're on the right path.
Yeah,
You're heading there.
getting there. I'm not satisfied.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
we're getting that
satisfied,
feeling.
though. I get the feeling that, you're never going to be entirely satisfied.
No,
There's a hunger and a drive there.
look, when I get my goals, I'll be more satisfied, but I'm just nowhere near them. They seem too far apart at the moment.
Well, you're a resilient bugger. I'm sure you'll keep on pushing till the
Try.
job's done.
Try. Yeah, keep trying. Just concentrate on growing quality fruit and making quality wine. And as you know from this conversation, we've got a good story to tell. We've just got to keep doing what we do. We just keep knocking on doors and keep at it.
Amen. Thanks, Simon.
No worries.
Nice job. Thanks for listening. Head to the Wine Grape Council of South Australia website for links and further resources. This is part of a bigger conversation, so feel free to share this podcast with your mates and look after yourselves. Cheers.